Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about VPN logging. Now, I found this question requested by a comment on the internet in a forum, and the question was, what is a good VPN or proxy that doesn't have logs? Now, this question actually has a bit of complexity to it that you might not initially expect, and we're going to dive into that into this video. So guys, why do VPNs or proxies need to be used in the first place? Well, let's kind of differentiate the difference between a VPN and proxy firstly. So both VPNs and proxies do have their uses. VPNs are great for pretty much any anonymity activity. They allow you to keep your data hidden in public Wi-Fi hotspots. They work to keep you anonymous when you're torrenting with BitTorrent. VPNs are also excellent at bypassing schools or work firewalls that restrict specific ports and therefore applications and services. So our primary reason for using a VPN or proxy is to remain anonymous, right? And gain access to unblocked content. Proxies are similar to VPNs in the sense that they change your IP and they can give you unblocked content depending on geo restrictions and stuff like that. But again, guys, they're not going to provide the same level of anonymity that a VPN does because they're not, encrypting the traffic outgoing from your computer. Mainly just used for changing your IP with a torrent app or maybe scrambling, changing your IP with a browser. So for most of us who want to use a company-provided VPN or proxy, there is an element of trust that has to happen. We must trust the VPN to not log our data. But anyways, guys, what are VPN logs in the first place? I want to take a look and kind of give you a comparison of another company, and we could kind of use them as an example. So if you haven't heard of the company Target, it's the big red store. Well, let's take, for example, Target. We trust Target to provide us with food and products, for the most part, that are not respectively poisoned or dysfunctional, in the same way that we might trust a VPN company to keep our data private. For the most part, when you go to Target, you get what you expect. However, maybe 1 to 2 years or, every 5 or 10 years maybe or something like that, data might get leaked. This actually happened with Target. They leaked a ton of information out. So when Target has a data breach like this, you might get your social security number, your license or something like that leaked. It could be hell for a lot of people, depending on identity theft and stuff like that. There's even stuff still floating around with these information out there. They try to kind of downplay it, of course, but the same thing can actually happen with a VPN company or any tech company, really. That's because when you go to Target, you're storing your information there. Some of this information is mandatory to prevent fraud. Sure, Target doesn't really intend for your data to leak, but if they collect information and if someone gets a hold of it, then the information can be leaked or stolen. So the only solution, right, would be to not have any information kept. Let's say you go to Target, you check out, and all of your information used to check out is wiped after purchase. This sounds ideal, right? Well, in this case, operation of the Target brand might actually fail because the company couldn't operate or use analytics to determine how to sell products. So this is why free VPNs actually collect information and analytic data and other forms of information to sell off to third parties. However, for a paid VPN provider to not give up data, they must not collect it in the first place. As you'll find out, this can be hard to find. So guys, another thing is, should you really worry about VPN logging? Well, are you a child porn addict, a criminal, or a terrorist? If so, then yes, VPN logging should actually be at one of the forefront things that you need to consider when picking a VPN. Now, I won't really recommend being any one of those 3 members of society. However, if you're just a torrenter or an anonymity advocate, then you're probably fine not worrying too much about VPN logging. In these cases, you should pick a VPN with good speeds, a good price, and make sure it has all the features that you need, like multi-platform available apps, security features and stuff like that. So for the most of us, VPN logs aren't a huge deal. However, giving up information about a user does set a bad precedent, for the future. So ideally, you still would want to pick a VPN without logs, because a VPN without logs is just fundamentally a good VPN provider, and It's something you can trust. So, do some VPNs collect logs? Well, VPNs are different from most products out there since they deal with anonymity. I discussed Target before, and it's not really an anonymity store or anything like that, so VPNs are slightly different. When you use something like Facebook or Google, for example, you are using free products that let you store documents or message your friends. The cost, whether you like it or not, is therefore your activity and data when using these platforms. Now, with a VPN specifically, you're paying the company to secure your data. If you pay a VPN company to keep you anonymous, then it has to have a no logging policy, right? Well, not necessarily. VPNs often go back on their promises when confronted with a law. Unfortunately, a lot of VPNs claim they don't collect logs, but they actually do. When push comes to shove, most VPN providers do keep some form of logs. Usually most people's information will be kept secure within the VPN company, sure. But on the off chance that Homeland Security comes calling, like with my previous video about IPVanish collecting logs and giving them up, about a child porn, spreader guy, then the VPN will give up information to save face with the government. Now, this is bad for PR, as you saw people were very upset with IPVanish, not because they didn't want this criminal to go to jail, but because it sets a bad precedent for how the company is actually collecting data and logs when they say they're not. So, just like Target is collecting information because the company needs to, if you pay for a VPN, theoretically, there shouldn't be any logs like with Target. Therefore, there shouldn't be any information to leak in the first place, which is why people want a no logging policy. So it's hard to tell whether a company really does or does not collect logs. It requires an in-depth knowledge of privacy laws and information really only available to the VPN company at hand. Now, most of the popular VPNs claim they don't collect logs after all. So what are you to do? So guys, how can you pick a VPN without logs? Well, if most VPNs could collect logs, how can you collect one or pick one that doesn't? Well, at the end of the day, you just have to pick a VPN that has a good reputation that you can trust. That's really what it comes down to. It's as simple as that. Now, this requires doing your own research, of course, like reading my articles on my website or watching my videos. I give you some information like when companies like IPVanish once were well respected and actually one of my top rated VPNs, still are one of my top rated VPNs. I just have a warning about the privacy perhaps. But they were once well respected, and now the company is a bit more suspect after previously the company that owned IPVanish was collecting logs. So, other companies like Private Internet Access have good specs on paper, good speeds, decent apps, etc. But maybe their advisory board, like the likes of Roger Ver or other questionable individuals like Mark Karpalis, who caused the Mt. Gox scandal. When companies have reputations like these, it might be an indication that there might be something going on behind the scenes, like data collecting or logs or something like that. So if a company has some kind of reputation with it, some kind of questionable history, maybe PureVPN being hacked a couple times, some of these other companies out there hide my ass, giving up information, stuff like that, you might not be able to trust this company. And that's really what it comes down to, guys, is trust. You need to pick a VPN that you can trust. You need to consider if they don't log, and if you trust them. In my opinion, that's really the end of the story. For me, I trust, if you've seen my channel at all, you've seen I always mention TorqueRed They don't have a history of giving up any logs. They don't really hire anyone sketchy like Private Internet Access. They don't really do anything they're not supposed to as an anonymity company, and they remain the best product out there in terms of features. So guys, that's pretty much my conclusion for this video. A lot of people try to look at VPN logging in the most objective way possible, but at the end of the day, it really kind of depends on your position and which VPN companies that you like. In my opinion, some of the top VPN companies like ExpressVPN and NordVPN, they really just spend all their money in marketing and advertisements and getting as many users as possible. But in a lot of ways, I feel like these companies don't always have the best reputation. NordVPN for the longest time was pretty buggy in my opinion, while ExpressVPN, it just seems kind of overpriced to me. So I would pick a VPN that has a good price, a good reputation, good speeds, and so on. Anyways, guys, if you want to see my recommendation, check out the link in the description down below. And thanks for checking out this video. My name is Tom Spark, and I'll catch you again on the next video. Peace.